The blizzard hit without warning, burying the trail and the boy together. 10-year-old Jack Reyes caught in the open.
Can't see anything. Can't feel my hands. I am not going to make it home.
Then a shape emerged from the white. Not a rescue, but something older, more certain.
Tormenta? You broke out of your stall. What are you doing up here?
The old gelding blocked his path and pushed his massive side against the boy, forcing him uphill. Jack grabbed the frozen mane, and the horse began to climb, dragging him toward the mountain's dark face.
He wants me to go up. There's nothing up there but rock. He's never acted like this.
The village lights flickered once, then the mountain swallowed them in a wall of white.
All right, Tormenta. I am trusting you. Just don't let us fall.
Step by step, Jack followed the old horse into the blind storm, toward a hidden cave that would decide the fate of his entire village. Tormenta climbed as if the blizzard were nothing, while Jack's strength drained with every agonizing step.
I can't feel my hands. My legs are shaking, but he won't stop. He knows where he's going.
Jack's foot caught on a buried stone. He pitched forward, and the old horse instantly braced against him, blocking his fall into the snow.
Why won't you turn around? There's nothing up here but ice.
Then, through the swirling snow, a shape darker than the storm itself. A cave mouth, ancient and jagged.
A cave. He knew it was here. He's been heading straight for it.
Tormenta stepped inside without breaking stride. Jack stood frozen at the entrance, the wind shoving him hard from behind.
It's dark as a grave in there. But out of this wind, I have to follow.
The moment Jack crossed the threshold, the storm's fury dropped to a muffled shriek. Absolute blackness swallowed them.
What now? I can't see a thing. I can't even see Tormenta.
Jack stretched his frozen fingers forward, stumbling until his knee struck a ring of stones, an old fire pit.
Someone's been here before. Maybe a long time ago.
His hand closed on a rusty lantern, buried in cold ash.
Tormenta! I found something. A lantern. There might be matches in my coat.
With numb fingers, he fumbled a match from his pocket and struck it against the stone. The tiny flame caught the wick, throwing orange light onto a wooden chest jammed against the cave wall.
A chest. What would be inside something like that?
Then the light swung, and Jack saw a narrow fissure running up the rock face, a dark crack no wider than his shoulders.
That crack is fresh. The rock looks broken, not worn.
Tormenta stood motionless, ears pricked toward the chest, as if waiting for Jack to understand. Jack knelt before the chest, forced the lid up, and the smell of old paper and dust unfolded into the cold air.
There's something in here. A leather folder. Look at that date, Tormenta. 1894.
He untied the cord and unfolded the first page, a hand-drawn map of tunnels. Every shaft labeled in ink that had held since the last century.
Gold King Mine. Nobody's worked that mine in decades. Why would anyone hide these maps in here?
The lantern flame leaned, and its light licked into the dark fissure he had almost forgotten.
That's not rock. That's a hand.
Jack held the lantern closer, and the full shape resolved. A child's body, dried and mummified, a faded dress still tucked around it. Around the neck, a silver locket rested against the collarbone, tarnished but whole, as if placed there deliberately.
Who would leave a child in a place like this?
With trembling fingers, he worked the locket free from the fragile bones and clutched it against his chest, as if it might dissolve. Jack spread the survey papers on the cave floor, tracing the spiderweb of tunnels inked across the yellowed pages.
These aren't just mine tunnels. They run right under the mountain. Under everything.
A county plat overlay placed the village square directly above the main shaft of the Gold King mine. He turned to a page bearing a single warning: ceased operations 1894. Persistent cave-ins and water seepage render this mine unsafe.
That shaft has been rotting under our homes for 53 years.
Tormenta nickered sharply from the entrance, the wind screaming behind him, as if backing the warning.
We have to get these to the sheriff. The whole town is sitting on a sinkhole.
He folded the surveys and the locket back inside his coat, staring into the raging wall of white beyond the cave mouth.
It's still too strong to leave. But if that cavity goes, everyone I know.
Jack bundled the leather folder to his chest and sat against the wall. A 10-year-old boy with the weight of 200 lives in his hands. The blizzard softened to a whisper, and a gray twilight seeped into the cave. Jack lifted his head.
The snow is letting up. If we go now, we might make it down before dark.
Tormenta led him out onto the slope, stepping with the same certainty that had brought them there. On the descent, Jack's legs buckled twice, and each time the old gelding halted, pressing his warm shoulder against the boy.
I don't know if I can make it, boy. But you won't let me stop, will you?
Then, through the thinning trees, a cluster of yellow lights flickered below the village.
Home. I can see home. Just a little farther, and I can warn them.
Jack stumbled into the clearing and fell to his knees just as his mother's lantern swung toward him.
Jack, where have you been? Your hands are frozen solid. Oh, my boy.
The sheriff scooped him up, jacket bulging with papers, and carried him toward the station's warm light. Inside the sheriff's office, Jack shivered under a blanket while the sheriff spread the muddy survey papers across the desk.
Look at the map. The main shaft runs right under our square. And there's a warning. Cave-ins.
Jack, those maps are 50 years old. Just because the mine was dangerous then doesn't mean we're in danger now.
They stopped because of cave-ins. That shaft has been collapsing for 50 years.
Then Jack pulled the locket from his coat, holding it up with trembling fingers.
Where did you get that? My wife's sister wore that same locket the day she disappeared.
Alden Whitmore, who had come to help, went pale and stumbled toward the door, calling for Ilara.
That's Clara's locket. My Clara, where did you get it?
I found it in a cave high on the mountain. There's a child's body there, wearing a faded dress. I am so sorry.
The room fell still. The sheriff finally looked at the maps not as relics, but as something that just might matter.
She was taken in 1887. Clara was only 8. We searched for years, but no one ever found her.
That locket was her only keepsake from our mother. Ilara has worn hers every day since Clara vanished.
Sheriff Hargrove turned the mining documents back toward the lamp, his eyes tracing the lines with fresh urgency.
If this overlay is right, the main cavity sits right under our town hall. We need a geologist out here now.
He clicked the radio switch, but only a flood of static poured from the speaker. The storm had taken down the relay.
Nothing. The line to the county seat is dead.
We can't wait. What if the cavity gives way tonight? We have to warn people.
We can't start a panic without confirmation. But I'll send a rider at first light. That's all I can do tonight.
Outside the window, the mountain stood silent against the clearing sky, its secret locked in the dark cave high above. A rider to summon Dr. Samuel Crane, federal geologist, would leave before dawn. Whether he would arrive in time, no one could say.
Not again. I can't close my eyes without seeing her.
Jack jolted awake on the office bench, the leather folders still pressed against his stomach as the first light touched the snow. A lone rider spurred his horse down the mountain road, carrying the sheriff's message to the highway. By noon, word had spread through the village. Outside the general store, people gathered in tight clusters. A farmer shouted that the boy was making up stories to explain being lost.
That's my son you are talking about. He nearly froze to death bringing those papers down. Why would he lie?
Other voices rose, some defending Jack, others demanding proof they could see.
That locket is proof. My sister is up there. I just want to bring her home.
I'll take you to the cave, Mrs. Whitmore. But it's dangerous up there. The rocks are cracking.
The geologist would arrive within hours, but for now, the village sank into frightened uncertainty, every eye on the mountain. Dr. Samuel Crane rode into the village by mid-afternoon, his horse lathered and his satchel heavy with instruments.
Where are the mining surveys? I need to see them immediately.
The sheriff handed over the folder, and Crane spread the fragile pages across the hood of a truck, ice crystals still clinging to the paper.
The overlay fits perfectly. Your village is built directly on top of the Gold King's main cavity.
He produced a modern county map and laid the two side by side, tracing the identical lines with a steady finger.
This entire settlement is perched on a rotten honeycomb. The mine was abandoned because it couldn't hold, and it's been weakening for 53 years.
How long do we have before it goes?
I can't give you a date. The fresh cracks that boy described in the cave indicate active settling. It could be months or hours.
The sheriff's hand rested on the map, and Jack saw his shoulders sag under a decision no one should have to make.
If my family were here, I wouldn't sleep another night under these roofs. I would leave tonight.
The town hall filled with every family, mothers weeping, old men grim, children clinging to their mothers' skirts.
The surveys are irrefutable. This village is built on a collapsing mine. It could give way at any hour.
A farmer shouted, "I won't leave my land for a boy's wild story."
They think I am making it up, but I am not.
He walked to the front, his boots loud on the planks, and faced them.
Tormenta led me 3 miles through a blizzard to a cave I'd never seen. He knew what was there. Inside, I found Clara Whitmore's body, and these maps. They show the mine under us is collapsing.
He held up the locket, and Elara Whitmore let out a quiet sob. The crowd erupted, some cursing, some weeping, all eyes locked on the silver chain dangling from his fingers.
We'll vote at dawn. Until then, stay close, keep your lanterns lit, and pray.
Jack lay in his own bed for the first time since the storm, but sleep refused to come.
What if the vote goes wrong? The geologist said hours. I can't just wait.
He heard his parents talking in low voices down the hall, their words sharp with worry.
He's just a boy, Hector. The men won't listen, no matter what he says.
Jack slipped from under his quilt, grabbed his coat, and eased open the window.
I need to take Dr. Crane to the cave myself. He'll see the cracks. Then they'll believe.
The barn was dark, but Tormenta nickered softly as if he had been waiting.
You knew all along, didn't you? That's why you broke your stall, to bring me to the cave.
Jack threw the saddle onto Tormenta's back and tightened the girth with cold, certain fingers.
Dawn's only a few hours away. We'll be on the mountain before the sun hits the square.
The moon lit the snow as Jack urged Tormenta up the mountain trail, the cold biting his cheeks.
So cold, but I don't have time to be scared.
Tormenta climbed steadily, his hooves finding old tracks beneath the fresh powder. As the sky paled, the dark shape of the cave mouth appeared ahead.
There it is. He remembered exactly where it was.
Jack dismounted, his boots crunching in the frozen crust, and tied Tormenta to a gnarled root.
I need to find the cracks, proof that it's getting worse.
With the lantern he'd brought from the barn, he stepped through the cave's black maw.
Last time I found a body. This time I might find a way to save them.
The same old chest sat against the wall, but his eyes went straight to the fissure and the fresh rubble scattered beneath it. The crack had doubled in width since yesterday. Jack pressed his palm to the stone and felt it shudder.
It's moving right now. I felt it. The whole mountain is splitting apart.
Outside the cave, a muffled shout rolled through the entrance. The sheriff's voice, calling his name.
I am in here. I am in the cave.
Jack burst into the light and found the sheriff and Dr. Crane on horseback, their faces pale with urgency.
You could have died, boy. Now, show us what's so urgent.
Jack grabbed the sheriff's sleeve and pulled them into the cave, where Dr. Crane already had calipers in his hand. Crane knelt by the fissure, inserted the calipers into the void, and the blood drained from his face.
This fracture opened inches in a single day. The overburden is shifting as we speak. You have hours at most. Announce the evacuation now, or we lose them all.
The sheriff nailed the order to the notice board himself, the red letters screaming mandatory evacuation. The street erupted. Families dragged trunks and crates into wagons, children screaming, horses rearing.
If your feet ain't moving, I'll drag you myself. The ground won't wait.
A small party, the Whitmores among them, galloped back toward the cave to recover Clara's body. Hours later they returned, and Elara dismounted, clutching a small cloth bundle to her chest. Jack helped his mother load their cart as the sun sank lower. every minute feeling like a countdown.
We're really leaving everything, but at least we're still alive.
The last stragglers were prodded out of their homes, and the evacuation column began to stretch down the road. Tormenta stood at the rear of the column, his head high, as if he knew the job wasn't done. By sundown, the village was empty, 240 souls moving away from the only home they'd ever known. The evacuation column wound out of the valley, wagons creaking, children silent, every face turned back toward the darkening mountain. The last wagon rocked past the edge of town, and a strange stillness settled over the empty streets. On the safe hilltop, Dr. Crane knelt beside his seismograph, connecting cables to a battery with steady hands.
If the needle jumps, don't wait for me to say it. Just run.
Jack stood beside his parents, clutching the locket, watching the needle twitch in the dim light. Then, from deep underground, a low rumble rolled through the rock. Not a sound, but a feeling that rose through their boots.
It's happening, right now. Please let everyone be far enough.
The earth shuddered again, harder. A few children screamed, mothers pulled them close, all eyes locked on the village below.
Everyone's accounted for. Hold on to your loved ones and pray.
The needle pegged to the right, and the mountain answered with a deep, grinding growl that wouldn't stop. The ground split without a sound, then roared, a jagged seam tearing across the village square. The general store buckled and plunged into the dark, its roof folding like paper. Then the schoolhouse followed, tilting sideways and vanishing in a cloud of dust. The church spire leaned once, as if praying, then crashed into the pit with a single toll of the bell. A blanket of dust rose over everything, and when it cleared, the village was gone.
240 people. We're all still here. And we're alive.
Tormenta stood stone still beside him, his gray coat powdered white with ash. In the crowd, Alden held Elara as she wept. Clara's small bundle still pressed to her heart. Jack felt the locket warm against his palm, the only thing that had come down from the mountain. It was over. The village was gone, but 240 souls still drew breath on the hill. By morning, the crater gaped like an open wound, black and raw in the emptiness where the village had stood. County officials arrived with a coroner, their horses steaming, and approached the small wrapped bundle. The coroner worked a thin blade under the locket's tarnished clasp. When it opened, a tiny photograph stared up. 2 girls.
That's Clara, the little one on the left. She had that locket on the day she disappeared.
Elara held the photo like a living thing, and the crowd hushed, grief and relief mingling in the thin mountain air.
You saved every life in this valley, Jack. That's the truth.
Tormenta saved them. I just followed him into the storm.
Dr. Crane folded his instruments with steady hands and regarded the boy with something bordering on awe. The officials announced that Clara Whitmore would be laid to rest in the new town. Her locket returned to her sister. By dusk, word was spreading beyond the valley. A boy and a horse had saved 240 souls. An old prospector, with a voice like gravel, remembered the winter of '25, when Tormenta's dam gave birth in that very cave. Tormenta had been born in that darkness above the very mine that would one day collapse.
Hey, horses can sense infrasound. He felt the rock cracking long before we did. He was leading you to the threat.
The crowd stirred, and someone called to raise a statue. The word spread until every survivor nodded.
He doesn't need a statue. He already did what he set out to do.
Jack, Clara would want you to keep this locket. You brought her home after 60 years.
I'll keep it. Always.
He pressed the locket to his chest, and Tormenta lowered his great head, as if in benediction. The talk turned to the new village they would build on solid ground, and what they would name it. But for now, on that ridge, all that mattered was the boy, the horse, and the locket that had bridged 60 years. Surveyors marked the new village footprint with wooden stakes, hammered into solid bedrock. Jack watched them work, then found his father by the temporary shelters.
I am going to be a geologist, so I can keep people from building on hollow ground.
That's a fine plan, Jack. Your mother and I are proud of you.
Elena Reyes hugged her son, fierce and proud, then pressed her lips to his hair. The federal government pledged to build the new village on stable ground, and Tormenta was led to a pasture green, even in winter.
They're going to build you a statue. You won't ever have to work again.
The leather survey documents were packed and sent to the state archive, a permanent warning. That night, Jack sat on his cot and opened the locket, the tiny photograph of Clara shining in the lantern light. He closed it gently, set it on the nightstand, and let sleep claim him, knowing the world was a little safer because of an old horse and a boy who followed. Months later, the new village square filled with every family, their breath misting as they gathered around a covered bronze shape. Tormenta stood beside the statue, ears pricked forward, and Jack led him through the crowd with quiet pride. Ilara and Alden stepped forward, hands full of wildflowers, and laid them at the base of the statue. A brass plate read, "Led by instinct, saved by courage."
You saved us all, Tormenta. I'll never forget.
The old gelding blew a soft breath against Jack's hair, a sound like a quiet reply. The crowd applauded, and children reached up to touch the cold bronze. Jack pressed the locket to his chest and looked at the statue, seeing the horse that had led him through the storm. The sun set behind the new wooden buildings, and the valley felt, for the first time, safe. Led by instinct, saved by courage. A boy and his horse had given the valley a second chance. More than a decade later, Jack Reyes stood on a windswept hill, a government survey map in his hands. The locket still hung around his neck, its old silver warm against his skin. He touched it, and for an instant he was 10 again, following a gray horse into a white storm. He smiled, the kind of smile that comes from knowing you were part of something bigger than yourself. He folded the map, tucked it under his arm, and walked toward the truck. Tormenta, old and silvered, grazed in a pasture below, a statue watching over the valley. The sun caught the locket, and the tiny photograph inside seemed to catch the light. He climbed into the truck and turned the ignition, the old engine rumbling like distant thunder. As he drove away, the camera rose above the valley, past the statue, past the new homes, into the quiet sky. 240 lives saved. One horse, one boy,